Good morning, all, depending when you're watching this. Good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, we are looking at a new Blaziken card that was just revealed this very day. Unfortunately, right after I got to work, so I had to wait until I got home from work to make a video. Boo! Although, as a quick side note before we get going, on my mum's birthday, I did a Reshiram GX analysis, and loads of you guys put loads of lovely comments, and my mum really liked it. Today is my dad's birthday. I'm going straight from making this video to see my dad. So if a whole bunch of you feel in a good mood, if you're feeling like nice people, and you want to put some happy birthday Wassie's dad comments, that would be quite nice. So, Blaziken is a fire Pokemon, which means you can use Scorched Earth for a little bit of extra consistency. You can use Kiawe to get a bunch of energy out bright and early. And Flint is especially good here. Flint is a new item card coming in Dragonstorm, where you discard 2 cards from your hand and search your deck for 4 basic fire energy. It also means you're hitting weakness against grass Pokemon like Golisopod and metal Pokemon like Duskmane Necrozma. Although one thing that I do find quite weird about Blaziken, it's only got 150 HP. That's lower than your average Stage 2 in the Sun and Moon era. Think Empoleon. Poor Blaziken. Retreat cost of 2 is the worst in the game, and speaking of Empoleon, the weakness to water means you will be hit by Empoleon for weakness, as well as Glaceon. And they're seeing a little bit of play, but certainly not the worst weakness ever, because neither of them are seeing huge amounts of play at the moment. And, you know, it's a Stage 2, so you need to evolve up slowly or use rare candy. There are the usual issues. We'll get to them, ladies and gentlemen. We will get to them. The ability here, though, oh, ladies and gentlemen, the ability I like very much indeed. And, of course, the translation, as tends to be the case nowadays, has come from the lovely David Hochmann, Mr. Rappelman TCG himself. And apparently it says that once per turn, you can take a fire energy from your discard and attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. And then, of course, if you've got multiple Blaziken in play, you can do this multiple times during your turn. And if you're thinking, hang on a second, Wassie, that ability starting to sound a little bit familiar? Well, it should, ladies and gentlemen, because it's an ability that we've seen more than once before. The most famous one was Electric, which absolutely ruled the format for a few years, using attackers like Zekrom for argument's sake, or Rayquaza GX. Then we got the same ability for lightning Pokemon with Bronzong, and once again it became an absolutely brilliant deck when paired with the Genesect EX, by which I mean the metal one, and it had a really good run until the rotation hit and the Bronzong rotated out. And we've actually got another one of these. It's not here yet, but it's on the way. The Malamar from Forbidden Light, which is going to be out in about 3 weeks' time, has the same ability for Psychic Pokemon, and we have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be really good when paired with Ultra Necrozma. And I have done a video about that. I will pop a link to that one in the description if I remember, so that you can see that deck in all its glory. It's already seeing a bit of play in Japan. It is a very good looking deck indeed. The point is, this is a very good ability. And it has come out on multiple Pokemon in the past, all of whom have been good. So there's no reason this won't be a good ability, and I feel extremely confident saying right now, this is a good ability. This is an ability which should see play, and we can be fairly confident will see play. It's a Stage 2, we'll get there. Now, the other thing is that it is only to a bench Pokemon you can accelerate energy, but the fact that we've got Guzma in the format right now actually really helps, because it means that you can have a Pokemon on the bench, and then you can attach the energy using Blaziken here, and then Guzma to get it in the active while getting one of your opponent's Pokemon off their bench, or you can even Guzma into a free retreater for yourself, accelerate the energy, and then free retreat into your attacker. But as I've kind of alluded to, it's a Stage 2. This is an issue. Now, the good news is, it means you're going to have a higher HP. You know, Electric had 90, Malamar has 90, Blaziken has 150. Now, I know 150 is lower than we would like, but it's still a darn sight higher than things like Malamar. But the problem here is, It's a stage 2. It's got a better attack, it's got more HP, but it's a stage 2. And the thing about Malamar and Bronzong and Electric and all the others, you put the basic down, and then next turn you evolve. Or maybe you play something like an Evo Soda, and then you can just use an Evo Soda, and you've got it out and rolling. Whereas with Blaziken, you're going to need to either wait another turn to get the evolutions going, or you're going to have to rare candy up, and that is an absolute pain in the neck. Now, Flint is really good for this, because of course if you're going to be using this ability, you need to get the energy in the discard. Flint allows you to search for 4 fire energy and put them into your hand. So you use Flint, then you play a Professor Sycamore, and would you believe it, now you are off and rolling, you've got the energy in your discard. Or you could even use Flint to discard the energy that's in your hand and then search for more energy. Anything to get the energy in a discard is good. And this, of course, was a bit of an issue sometimes in these electric decks, trying to get the energy in the discard. Now, you had stuff like Ultra Ball, but certainly this fits quite nicely as just a nice little card where you can either search for the energy or you can discard the energy. Flint is really, really good in this deck. Having said that, if you're going to be using one of these Pokemon that accelerates energy, you've got to have a good attacker to use, and the great news is that for fire Pokemon, we really do. We got Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is a great attacker that just needs a boatload of energy. You put 4 energy on there, and you do a flat 180, 210 with a choice band, and then stuff like Zoroark is going down in a single hit. It's a great attack. But it's really gosh darned expensive. So, the other thing is, of course, that you can't attack afterwards. And you can't retreat, because generally we've been using Kiawe to get the energy onto Ho-Oh. But then if you retreat and discard all the energy, it becomes a bit of a pain. Here, Ho-Oh's only got a retreat cost of 2. So you get a couple of Blaziken on your bench, you retreat the Ho-Oh, and then you can just get the energy straight back on again, and you are up and rolling and laughing. It is great for this. And of course, you've got Volcanion, who first of all gives you a great option as a fire attacker with a different weakness. It's weak to fire rather than lightning, but also Steam Up is a great way to discard this fire energy, so you've got it in the discard to accelerate with Blaziken. I mean, probably way better than Flint, to be perfectly honest with you, although it is going to rotate shortly after this is released, which kind of sucks. The other great thing about using a Stage 2 here is that it's not like a regular Stage 2. So if you're playing an Empoleon deck, what's going to happen is you're going to bench a Piplup and attach an energy, and your opponent's just going to Guzma and KO it. And then if you ever get a Prinplup on the field, your opponent's going to Guzma and KO it. And your opponent is basically going to go after your evolution. And you're going to have to get multiple out, or your opponent's just going to wreck you with Guzma. The thing is here, if turn 1 you get a couple of Torchic down, and then Kiawe onto a Ho-Oh, your opponent is not going to be going after your Torchic. Your opponent is going to have to go after the Ho-Oh, which means this is a Stage 2 that you can actually afford to just evolve up manually on the bench. The question is whether you can wait those turns to get the energy acceleration. And maybe if you're using Kiawe in the early game, you can afford to wait a couple of extra turns than you would with, say, a Malamar deck, because you've already got a Ho-Oh swinging for 180. The real question with this ability is it better than just using Kiawe? And I think it might be, because the thing is, right, Kiawe turn 1 is great, because you might not be attacking anyway. But turn 4 or 5, are you going to give up your attack to use a Kiawe? Probably not. I like the idea here of just using Kiawe, and then you get a whole bunch of energy on, and then your opponent has to go after the Ho-Oh, so you can pop your evolutions down slowly and you're less concerned about having your setup wrecked by Guzma. And then, of course, you've got a couple of extra turns to accelerate energy, because Kiawe essentially does 2 turns of Blaziken anyway, so you don't have to worry. Maybe being a Stage 2 with this ability is too slow, but the combination of having a Kiawe and having good attackers like Ho-Oh means you might have the time to evolve up, and then you've got 150 HP energy accelerator with a decent attack. Speaking of which, 90 damage for free energy, discard a fire energy, and you do 20 to all of your opponent's bench. This is not bad at all. I mean, we would play this for the ability. But you know what? 90 is pretty good. With a choice band, you're getting a KO on Goliath support, or Dustmane Necrozma, even a Decidueye would go down. And doing 20 damage to all of their bench as well? It's kind of like a Tapu Koko, but for 1 more energy, and you're doing 90 to the active rather than 20. I think this is a pretty nice attack. It's not the main reason to play the card by any stretch, but it is a very nice attack as a bonus, and even though free energy on a stage 2 is quite expensive, don't forget that if you're playing this, you're probably going to have a couple of Blaziken out anyway, so you're really not going to mind the attack cost much at all. Most of the time, you'd still rather accelerate the energy to something like a Ho-Oh, but it is a nice attack to bear in mind. The thing is here that this is an amazing ability, there's no doubt about that, but we have seen it be really good on a stage 1. And on a stage 1. And in Japan, at least, on a stage 1. We've not seen it be good on a stage 2. I don't know, actually. Typhlosion. Sorry, that was a very weird noise. Typhlosion had a very similar ability. You had to take a damage counter, but you could put it on the active. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. And Typhlosion did see a little bit of play. Having said that, Typhlosion was in a slightly slower format. I personally think this is going to be a good card, and I think if it wasn't for Fire and Kiawe, it wouldn't be as good, but it is, and we do have Kiawe. So you know what? I could see decks that are using Kiawe in the early game, while they then set up their Blaziken, and they are off and rolling, and I could be wrong, but I'm still giving you 4 Wassies for this card, because I think it's gonna be good. Although, speaking of being wrong, my Sizzle GX prediction was money. It was so good. My Blaziken GX prediction, wrong would be an understatement. It's not a GX. It doesn't have huge HP. It does have an ability. I was completely off the money. But I want to know what you think about Blaziken, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think it could be good, or do you think it will be thwarted because it's a stage 2? And of course, if you do want to be nice and give birthday wishes to my lovely dad, that's what the comment section is there for. Go nuts, but be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, which is where you can do that. And do check out my video game / Dragon Ball channel, Wassie Plays. It's fun. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.